How are you doing today, sir?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. Listen, let me start by saying congrats on the season. It's so well done. I'm going to start with the generic thing, but how much did you know about Narcos prior to getting involved?
The series?
Yeah.
I've been a fan since the first season. Yeah.
So as a fan, what surprised you about the making of the show that maybe you weren't expecting?
I don't know that I was really surprised about anything because what I'll say is I was very grateful to take an experience of shooting in another country that's kind of like the motherland of my culture. I grew up in Wyoming, but my dad's from Mexico, so I have Mexican blood, Mexican heritage in my soul. But I didn't really grow up with the Mexican culture necessarily in my household. Right, so going to Mexico and experiencing Mexico and the culture and its people and kind of being a part of society and seeing what it's about and learning Spanish properly, it was really, truly special for me.
What is it? What is the shooting schedule like when you're making a show like this? A lot of TV shows are like 8-day shoots. Is it like that? What is it like?
I think we would do five on, 2 off. So I think we'd take weekends off. But there was because there's so many storylines. It was very inconsistent. Some days it'd be super long days. Some days it'd be 10, 12-hour days. It wasn't obscene. It wasn't obscene by any means. There was two units going on at all times, making sure that we got everything because it's really you're shooting 10 movies. It's 10 episodes. They're 10 movies, and we shot it in 8 months. Throughout from November of last year until June. So it's a lot. It takes a lot of work, especially to make a show look like Narcos looks and feels, and the acting. It's like you need to take your time.
Well, one of the reasons why the show I think is so popular around the world is because you take so much time to film it, because it looks so good, and the production design and the costumes. You feel like you've been transported.
Yeah, we feel like that too. Like we're in costume and we're driving old crappy cars and that barely run, and because they're from the 80s or 70s or whatever we can get our hands on, we are transported there. So it does feels very natural, and it feels very honest to be part of that world. You
got to do a lot of cool shit this season. Did you have like a day or two, or like was there a certain episode or a certain scene that you're reading in the script you're like, oh my God, I cannot wait to do this?
Well, what was cool, I'll preface that, is that we went early. We went about a week early so that my crew, the cops, I call them chotas, which is Mexican for cops, right? Spanish. We went and did tactical training. So we did a day of tactical training learning how to use the weapons, the style that they used in the 80s, right? There's a different stance now that they did in the 80s, so we had to learn all that stuff. We learned how to walk around buildings and walls, how they did in the 80s. So that was very interesting, and that was very cool. What was the other part of your question?
I'm already forgetting what the other part of it. What sequence that you were...
there's a ton of really, really great action sequences, and not even the action sequences. There's really big scenes that were in the safe houses with our crew trying to figure out what we're going to do next. The funnest part for me was knowing that every one of us were out to help each other and make sure that it's the best scene as possible. There was no egos. We just wanted everything to work and everyone to look good.
What is it? So you haven't seen the season yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
I was going to ask you about deleted scenes and stuff, but let's switch to something else. What do you think it is? Like, people love the show, and they love learning about like what goes on behind the scenes in drug culture and all this stuff. What do you think it is that makes this kind of genre so popular?
Part of it's drama. You know what I mean? There is an allure to it that there's a part. I think that there's a part in the psyche of every one of us that would like to be able to do whatever we want to do when we want to do it, right? And it doesn't make it right. It's just different life. There are rules that we have to follow by, and some people don't follow those rules. At the end of the day, it's like everyone needs to be able to put food in our mouth and have a roof over our head and make sure the families are taken care of. I forgot your question again.
What I was going to say, what is it about like the genre that makes it's so popular?
Well, I think Narcos Mexico in specific, I think it's because it's a in the United States, it's our neighbor. And while Colombia, the version of Colombia, the first 3 seasons were very popular as well, I think Mexico really kind of like relates to us because it's right here. And we've heard about these things throughout the years. You know what I mean? We've heard the names. We know about the drug culture. We know about all these things. So it kind of feels very familiar. And to kind of get a little bit of an insight on where it all started, because there's a lot of historical stuff goes on here. There's a lot of embellishing just to kind of keep the story moving and keep it entertaining. But there are, some things that we go, oh, I remember that time. I have family members that go, oh, I remember that. I was young. I was, in the 80s. I was just a kid. But being able to kind of use somewhat of a historic base to make a fictional show and entertaining is kind of a cool thing. It's not a documentary, so it's you have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt and do your own research and
100%.
Yeah.
No one thinks we're watching a documentary on screen.
Yeah. But some people take it that way. You know what I mean? Like they're saying that this is all of it's real. Some of it's factual, but some of it's like very much heightened.
100%. But like there's stuff what the show does is it mixes in history with the embellishing, but like when they show a photo or they recreate a certain sequence that really happened, you're playing anyway.
Yeah.
When you think back on the show, you obviously did some cool sequences. Which was the trickiest one you think to pull off?
There's gosh, what can I say? I'll say there's a big sequence that was kind of tricky only because of the weather. The weather in Mexico can be unpredictable. So there was about a week of getting rained out and having schedules pushed and like really, really big sequences. So the weather that was the most challenging part about doing this because our crew was incredible. The special effects, the stunt guys. Everyone from all the departments, they were so good and so prepared. It was just the weather that would hold us back, honestly.
You're not going to throw someone under the bus. It's basically the weather.
No, really it is. There was like the rainstorms, the monsoons. We did a shoot. We did one of our locations. Is in I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for this. Is in the desert. I'll say it's in the desert. It's in Matehuala. And a week later, it was like a torrential downpour, and the city got massively flooded, massively. We were just there, and we're like sharing pictures on Instagram. It's like, yo, did you see this? It's like we were literally just there. Like we were staying in the hotel, and like we're water's rushing by and cars are going by the building. It was insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
On that note, I have to stop. I'm just going to say congrats on the season and being a part of it.
Thank you.
Hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you. Likewise.